Welcome back to the Shacknews Awards. We are just trucking along here, handing out awards to great games for all sorts of stuff. This category is Best Sound Design of the Year 2024. To qualify for this, you had to be a game that released in 2024, and you had to have featured sound. Basically it. Most games in 2024 do feature sound, so they got that going for them.
And it's not music, this sound effects.
Yeah, this is
not music.
Sound effects. This is like maybe not music, but it could be design around like how music is triggered in a game. You know, like the advent of like Banjo-Kazooie, right? Like the environmental music that would change depending on where you were in context. That's, in my opinion, that is not music. That is sound design.
Right.
So I just want to, so in case you're wondering with a future game that I mentioned in this category, why it's there, that's part of why I nominated one of these games. But yeah, let's get to the nominees, then we'll talk about them, then we'll vote, and then we'll go get dinner or something. Not pizza, though. Greg.
Pizza time.
No.
Try not to overuse it because I wanted David to keep laughing at it. So
Mate,
No,
you missed that line. Like you've blown right past it, man.
It's definitely worse when I trigger, like when I say it and then you say it. That's a little more trite, but yeah. Anyway, here are the nominees. There's no pizza on the line.
no, I just used it.
For me, it's just I just want to be clear with you guys every award. Like this is not. There's no pizza on the line.
I'm gonna do it. How do I do a press release on Cortex? I'll do that today, maybe.
Just write a press release.
There you go. Yeah.
About pizza parties?
About the pizza party not infecting votes on the Shacknews Awards this year.
There's no payola.
There's no pizza party. There is no manipulation.
No pizza party payola. You gotta work with the alliteration, man. You gotta have clickbait headlines. Come on, what are you doing? Anyway, here are the nominees: Helldivers 2, The Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom, Stalker 2, Senua's Saga: Hellblade 2, Astrobot, Silent Hill 2 Remake. And that's it. A lot of twos in here.
And that's it.
A lot of
twos
sequels in here.
They come with the great good things coming too.
Helldivers 2 certainly was a nice thing that came into, and then until horrible things happened. Sam, I feel like you're a resident Helldiver here.
Yeah, look, you got to do it for Super Earth, no matter what the cost is to human life. You gotta do it. Helldivers 2 sound design is incredible. Simply put, it is brutal. It is raw. You've got the sound of bugs getting squished and robots getting popped and having their electrical circuitry fried. You've got the sound of your own Helldiver screaming bloody murder as they just unleash bullet hell on the enemy, right? So you could have you and 3 of your mates lined up, all using sort of some bullet spewing device. You can have machine gun turrets down, and just the sound of bullets whizzing past your ears and shell casings like littering the floor. It is incredible. And then you've got some of the
Oh,
you there, Sam?
Too deep.
Oh, no.
I don't know what happened there.
Bro, not the resistance getting squashed. These.
I don't know what that was. Yeah, wow. Who's
What that
censoring
was.
me? What is this? And then, so you've got some of the objectives there, like launching the bombs. One of them in particular is you have to launch like what is basically a nuke, and it doesn't land within the playable zone. It lands on the horizon. And so you can see it hit the mushroom cloud, explode, and then a few seconds later, you hear just a brutal roar of energy as the shockwave blasts across the screen and wind blows. And I think if you're jumping, or some maybe bodies might get blown in the wind as well.
You can catch air,
But
yeah,
you can catch air. And all of that with the effects of the audio there, it's just, they've done a stellar job at making you feel right there in the heart of the action, which is heightened by the third person perspective as well.
I'm glad you mentioned explosions. The explosions in the game, the sound design is outstanding. And also like little things like like in Quake, the sound of the grenade hitting the ground, David, like
Mhm.
how that was like such an important audio cue.
Yeah.
Helldivers has that all over the place. So grenades, even just footsteps of enemies, like you can hear them coming. It's outstanding. Like
The
the
sound of the
terrain,
bugs like under
like
the ground as they're about to pop out, and
yeah, how
Yeah.
they consider the sound when something's underground versus above ground, or walking on gravel, or walking on dirt, or walking in mud. Like all the environmental changes affect the audio in this game too. It is a very well designed
And then
sound.
to emphasize more what Sam said, the machine noises are also very like creepy. Like the machine, the little like the binary code that they type, it's like it freaks me out sometimes when I'm playing. I'm like, God, they're really close because you hear this, how they communicate. That's good sound design as well. Makes me on
Mhm.
edge.
Absolutely. Our next nominee is The Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom, and I kind of touched on this earlier, but the way that music is intertwined in the world, the open world, is amazing. Uh, they have these like interludes for each song, like when you're walking out of Kakariko Village and you just go into the Hyrule Field, the transition song into the theme, and then Zelda's theme is outstanding. We'll talk about that in the best music category. The other side of it is like all those Zelda sounds that you like, picking up getting a treasure chest or finding a secret. All of those are present. The sound of picking up a rupee. The underwater sound design in this game is rather excellent. But yeah, it's just I think people kind of sleep on how great Nintendo is at sound design. This game, I think sound is a huge part of why it's so fun to play. But yeah, I think it's definitely a worthy nomination, but I'll probably make a stronger case for it in the music category than I will sound design. But yeah, Zelda games have pretty solid sound design too. Who wants to talk about the sound design in Stalker since Bill's not here?
I
Sam?
think, yeah, I'm more than I know I just spoke about Helldivers too, but if TJ or someone else wanted to chime in as well, I don't want to dominate the platform.
Sound is like
Dominate.
incredibly important in Stalker 2 because if you're not paying attention to your surroundings, if you're not paying attention to the sounds that are around you, you might walk headlong into an anomaly and get torn to pieces.
You need
Yeah,
those headphones in to know where the anomalies are, because you always hear that little crackling off in the distance. You're like, wait, how close is that to me? And like, if they don't nail that aspect, like, do you know how many times you accidentally kill yourself? Like, that would suck.
And there's something to be said as well about when you're just out exploring and navigating and you might hear a crackle of gunfire and you're like, hold up, was that a bullet whizzing past my head or was that two factions fighting just over the hill? And then as you get closer, the sound of the gunfire shifts as you get closer to the actual combat. And then once you dig in and you're actually there in the heart of the fight, if you choose to participate, all the sound of your gun jamming and you're having to clear out the chamber or whatever the mechanism is, when you're exploring like an anomaly and you're looking for an artifact and you've got out your handheld device and it's pinging whereabouts it is in the vicinity, and you're trying to not only discern the location of the anomaly, which might be like hidden and not quite visible, and the location of the artifact that you're trying to find, you got to really pay attention to how the sound design sort of melds together to sort of sway your movement through the area. And then TJ, I know like the storms are a massive element in this. Not only the dangerous ones like the emission, but the ones that maybe are a little bit. I mean, I got a soft spot for rainy days, so it's surviving in a little shelter as the rain goes by and just hearing it fall down across this sort of wasteland and just, I don't know, feeling, dare I say, cozy in Stalker 2. It's unusual to feel that, but the sound design, evokes that for me.
It is absolutely a vibe when you're walking through just like a down a trail or down a path and the rain is hitting around you, and it's just like that sense of just raindrops hitting everything around you and like it's like a white noise machine, but in active play around you. Same with like the acoustics when you're inside buildings, and like whether it's just talking to people or if you get into a gunfight, the echo of footsteps and bullet fire and voices inside of like factory warehouses and stuff as you're trying to like pin down where they're coming from. The echoes in that game are actually a little bit misleading at times, and I think that's on purpose because you're trying to work out exactly where your opponents are in a very open space. And the echo kind of builds the intensity because you need to try to figure out if they're coming close to you or if they're going a different way or if they're going upstairs, which all of those things make different effects, whether they're on the ground floor or whether they're walking on metal. And paying attention to those sounds, like, it matters to your survival.
Definitely. It kind of reminds me of like Hunt Showdown in that regard, where sound is so critical to your survival, especially in Stalker 2, where, like you said, a wrong move, go down the wrong hallway, if you're not paying attention, it can spell your demise very quickly.
Nice. Well, I think that's a worthy nomination. But next up, Senua Saga Hellblade 2. This game's audio design, and the first one too, the voices in her head, the way that they execute that with directional audio is just outstanding and scary. And I played this game on my PC in the dark at night in headphones. Not Senua Saga, but the first one. And yeah, I don't recommend that. It's scary. So much of this game's vibe comes from its audio design. I can't stress that enough.
Yeah.
TJ, you reviewed this first, right?
Yeah. The mix of supernatural elements and psychosis in that game as far as designing the audio tapestry. I've said it before, like it's not my favorite game as far as gameplay goes, but every single aspect of it serves the presentation, and the sound is like the key element of that. I don't think that Senua's Saga or Hellblade, I don't think these games work without such a strong sound design to deliver the chaos of Senua's thoughts to you directly.
I think TJ's frozen a little bit.
I think that's like one of the greatest powers of the game is the most of us will never know what it's like to feel psychosis or feel like that kind of mental duress. But for a second, when you're playing that game and you're locked in a sword fight with a guy that wants to kill you while everything is whispering in your ears, like, run to the right, or block him, or kill him. It's like always, it's sensory overload, but like purposeful.
And it's like 80% trolling. Like they're like telling you to do the wrong thing or they're cheering against you. Like, yeah, it's pretty intense.
There's a depth and layered nature to how the audio is sort of designed in Hellblade 2 as well, whereby, you will hear the voices within Senua's head, and some of them will be quite close on one side, but maybe further away, but maybe louder on another. Meanwhile, you're supposed to be hearing, like just in the starting area, you're supposed to be hearing survivors from a shipwreck in the distance. And so you've got these competing voices. Some are real, others are in Senua's head. Some of them you need to either pay attention to or ignore. Meanwhile, it's also raining and there are people fighting in the distance. And so all of these are like expertly layered on top of each other to try to to draw your attention just ever so slightly and keep you feeling unbalanced with what you're supposed to do. It's just masterful.
It messes with
like
equilibrium. Sorry, go ahead, Danny.
I like how they broke down some of that behind the scenes kind of process, between the first game and the second too, and just like you guys said, with layering the sounds and having those microphones that they can walk around and stuff like that. to get those kind of immersive voices and sounds together. Plus, the sound in general when it comes to the combat and other stuff too. Sounds pretty awesome in the mix of and making all that, like you guys said, there's an intensity there, and it can be overwhelming at times, but that's in the way that works for the game. But I don't ever feel like it's detracting me from playing.
Oh no, it elevates the game. It really does. And it to like your point, TJ. The way that they handle I think Sam, you might mention this too. Like the way that they handle the panning and the stereo audio, and I think even 6.1 audio. Yeah, I think it's not easy to do what they're doing. It's really easy to try to do what they're doing, and it just sounds like white noise because all the different things cancel each other out. But the way that they pick the frequency of the voices, the direction that they're coming from, the gain, right? Like how loud they are, is masterful. It's really, it's so much. It's easy to listen to that and be like, oh, that's not that hard. But like to execute that flawlessly throughout an entire game is a crazy attention to detail.
A level of balance that takes a lot of patience and skill. And a lot of folks actually caring about that being used the way it is. And that goes across for that kind of game too. Yeah, playtesting and get involved in that way, and also doing it tastefully as well.
Yeah.
Considering that psychosis is involved in that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's a game about mental health, and I think the company and the studio have done a really good job of treating that subject carefully and thoughtfully. But yeah, this is the category for this game. It really is. Because it's a shorter game or whatever. This is not about how long a game is. It's just about how good the sound design is. Yeah, we can move on to a very different game. Like polar opposites, would you say?
Oh yeah.
Astrobot or Senua Saga? Like, how often are these two in the same category?
Almost never. Astrobot's almost like a palate cleanse.
Astrobot is a video game palate cleanser. It really is. Delightful game. But a good 3D platformer needs good sound design, David. Like you need that one-to-one feedback, and Astrobot nails that. The sound of his jetpack, the sound of the environment. Sometimes you have a tree that's singing about what you're doing while you're doing it. But like even the tree though, like the way that the tree goes from like being dormant to waking up in that moment, like that's cool. We talked about like all the textures and all the different environments that you can interact with, but like I always come back to the sprinkles level. Walking around on sprinkles sounds like you're walking around on sprinkles. Like they spend a lot of time making sure that each texture that you're interacting with sounds like it should. And like I said, like a good platformer does that in spades, and this one does for sure. I know it'll come up in the best music category too. But I do think Astrobot's sound design is very impressive.
Yeah, it's just like a satisfying crunchiness to everything. Like you mentioned the sprinkles. One thing I do whenever I find anything that I can just knock around is I'll hold the square button to kind of charge the attack and then let go to spin and just send artifacts flying. That's a really satisfying sound as well. I love the sound of glass and ice kind of disintegrating under your feet as you run over destructible areas.
Like the cracking, that noise.
Yeah, just the crackle of it. Yeah. This game just pops.
Like the different materials that you interact with all have different sounds, and that just makes the design of the levels even more immersive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the game just pops every second you're playing it.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's subtle. Like it's easy to just be like, oh wow, this is a wonderfully designed game, like visually. It's like no. Some of the audio is why you feel that way about what you're looking at too. Is that it's like it feels real, or at least there's like a sense of realism to parts of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
There's an old saying in the film industry: it's audio is 50% of the picture. So that's yeah.
Yeah, I don't doubt it, man. And like a good Foley artist is still a
Yeah.
very valuable person to have in 2024. Better than some sort of AI fart bot. But yeah, Astrobot definitely deserves to be here. And then making this, let's wrap up this category to be the one of the weirdest grab bags we've had the entire awards. Silent Hill 2 remake is also here. What do you guys? I think David and TJ, you guys probably have more hours in it than anyone else here. TJ, what would you say is like a standout part of the audio design in Silent Hill 2 remake?
As a psychological horror, like this game does so well in creating an atmosphere that just is almost always oppressive. Like when there's absolute silence in Silent Hill 2, it's kind of the scariest thing because it usually means that something terrible is coming. But more than that, like there are enemies in this game that purposely hide from you, and the only way that you'll know is because you'll hear like squeaking in the dark, and then you'll hear nothing until they attack you. And that in of itself is just a great tandem of sound design and gameplay. But there's just like Silent Hill has always had like this. It's like a Trent Reznor wet dream of soundscape. As far as just like loud industrial,
That is a box quote.
just like a loud industrial cacophony of grinding metal and terrifying noise and like factory sounds and sirens, and it disorients you as much as like it also builds the environment around you, and that's
David,
the
is
purpose
he not
of
describing South Canton right now?
He sure as hell is.
Every single thing you just said. I can drive 10 minutes from here. I just put up my phone and you guys be like, is that Silent Hill? No, it's South Canton, Ohio.
What do you
Wow.
think, David?
Oh yeah, I mean, I think I said it in another category, but not since Dead Space have I been as impressed with the soundscape of a horror game as I have with Silent Hill 2. You just hear all sorts of little sounds that could indicate enemy movement. Maybe it's just, a house settling, but probably not. It's just exquisitely done. And I love that even though like sometimes the siren in this game can be a good thing, like after your first fight with Pyramid Head, the siren indicates that he's leaving, but it's still a siren going off, which we're just kind of programmed to kind of give us chills because it means someone is hurt somewhere. And yeah, everything about this game just gives me goosebumps, even talking about it. And I feel like the way that sound and light mesh is also disconcerting. Like when you first get to an asylum in the game, and it's like twilight, so there's light coming in through windows, curtains fluttering in a breeze, but it's Silent Hill 2, so you know that there's nothing peaceful going on. It's just quiet, and it shouldn't be quiet because you know there are things out there in the dark waiting for you to happen upon them.
Nice. Yeah, that was the sixth
That was it, I
nomination.
think.
Yeah. Very different games in this category. It's funny to see Zelda and Astrobot hanging out with some of the most horrific games of the year. But that's sound design for you.
Mhm.
So what do you say? Should we get to voting?
Let's do it.
Cool. 6. There we go. David, we'll start with you.
Silent Hill 2.
Donovan voted for Stalker 2. Denny.
You know, I really do like the sound design in Silent Hill 2, but
Mhm.
I also really love what they do with Hellblade. Uh, I'm gonna give it to Hellblade. Yes.
Yeah. This is a category where I really don't think you could pick a wrong answer here. They're all
No.
this is like I think an underappreciated art in this industry. but
Oh yeah.
there's some really talented people who have been nominated here. Greg.
I have to do Stalker 2. Sam's argument swayed me.
What were you weighing it with?
Silent Hill, because that's good sound
Okay.
design too. But the combination of like the open world of Stalker and like the things that happen intermediately, like the what we call the immersion gameplay that can just happen, right? It's just it's kind of wild to hear like the birds flapping and the other things in the world that's it feels like a real place. So does Silent Hill too, but like it's more I don't know, scary. I think scary is easier to do than Stalker 2. I don't know. I don't know what I'm talking about. Let's say
Stalker
Stalker
2 can be scary too.
Yeah.
Though. TJ.
I'm gonna go Hellblade 2 because that game, it's amazing what they did with sound in that game and how much it matters.
And if they didn't have that level of design to their sound, that game would suck. Like I don't mean that like lightly. Like so much of the sound design is why that game is good.
Mhm.
So I do think this is kind of its category. Ozzy.
I'm gonna go Stalker 2. That's a game that doesn't work if the sound design is off, and they do such a good job with it that it makes that experience so much better.
Sam.
It's got to be Hellblade 2.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, sorry, Steve.
I'm going Silent Hill 2.
Okay. Oh boy. And we know Bill's voting for Stalker 2. And Donovan voted for Stalker 2. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 for Stalker 2 right now. 2 for Silent Hill 2. Yeah. And then Hellblade 2 has 1, 2, 3. That means I can really throw things into the air here.
Do it.
And I'm going to because look,
there you go.
I agree that Stalker 2 would not be good without the level of sound design that they have, but like I think Hellblade 2 would become unplayable if they didn't have what they have there. So I'm gonna vote for Hellblade 2. Every time Ninja Theory is gonna make a Hellblade game or something like this, I'm gonna give them the award for audio design because what we're talking about with the panning effect and like the contextual sound design of that game mid battle and stuff, like it's crazy what they do. So yeah, we're gonna have to have a runoff election here, because we have a 4-4 tie between Hellblade and Stalker 2, which means that David and Steve, you have to revote and you have to pick one or the other. And if you guys split, I become the decider.
I'll go with Hellblade 2.
Nice.
Well, I'm going Stalker 2.
Command me, Lord.
Oh, awesome! I love this.
Wow. It happened earlier, Ozzy.
It did. This is the
This is the third time I've had to do this
Nancy
during the Shacknews
Pelosi
Awards.
time.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to change my mind here. I really feel strongly about the audio design in Hellblade 2. So because I have the Nancy Pelosi vote and I get to be the decider here, and maybe someday I'll get to trade on insider information like she does too. But in the meantime, I get to hand out awards as the benevolent dictator of Shacknews, which gives you an opportunity to use that clip again, Greg.
I gotta find it.
It's like you.
Oh, but you have the pizza party clip always ready to go.
Yeah,
Hell yeah, he does.
Anyway, congratulations to Senua Saga Hellblade 2. Ninja Theory, Xbox, Bill Gates, Satya Nadella, Phil Spencer, Sarah Bond, not Matt Booty, but everyone else. No, even Matt Booty. You guys have won the Shacknews Award for the best audio design, and once again, like I just think they handle mental health extremely well. That's a challenging topic to make a game about in an entertainment industry, and I think they really handle the topic extremely well, and audio is a large part of that. So congratulations, you've won the Shacknews Award for best sound design of the year 2024.